Gilgu, a lonely man who is unemployed and has no social or love life. His only muse in life is claw machines. He has a special place at home made for the toys he collects. One day, he was doing some chores, and by mistake, he dropped something and went down to bring it. Suddenly, he saw a woman with a pretty angelic face. He couldn't take his eyes off her and fell in love at first sight. Since he's an introvert, he didn't even dare to talk to her. Instead, he went to his only friend to tell him all about it. After drinking all night, Gilgu was too tired and went back home. While he was alone in the elevator, a hand came out of nowhere, trying to get in. He was surprised to see his crush, but this time she has more of a wild, devilish look. He didn't judge or even talk. However, for no reason, she strangled him. He couldn't escape her until he struck her on the head and ran away. He was too afraid to show his face the next day, but he decided to go for a walk. He saw a newly opened bakery in the neighborhood, so he entered excitedly, only to see his crush working there with her cousin. Once she knew his address, she told him that she had just moved into the same building and introduced herself like she hadn't attacked him the night before. Her name is Sonji. Anyway, Gilgu thought she was crazy and ran for his life before being choked again. He was terrified because Sonji chased him all the way, and just when he thought he was safe, she caught him. She just wanted to give him a gift, celebrating the bakery opening. Gilgu accepted it, but went home so confused, with no clue what had just happened. To satisfy his curiosity, he waited till night and went down to search for Sonji around the building. He saw her, but she was in danger. An old man was holding her by force. So Gilgu wanted to be the hero who saves her from that pervert and attacked him, only to find out that the man is her father. Being so embarrassed by his intervention, Gilgu kept apologizing to the father, stating that he wasn't stalking her. He was just there by chance. However, Sonji, who was devilish again, was about to kill him, until her father told him to run and never look back. The next day, Gilgu met Sonji again in the elevator. She was so calm and nice, like nothing had ever happened. He was about to lose his mind and decided to keep an eye on her just to see the end of it. At night, he kept watching her with her father. She was having fun and playing around like a 5-year-old. Then, after some time, she started to transform like a zombie, and her father was exercising next to her to avoid suspicions. He was waiting for her to pass out so he could carry her. Unfortunately, he cracked his back and couldn't move. So, Gilgu had no choice but to reveal himself and saved Sonji from a dangerous hit on the ground. Anyway, the ambulance came to take the father, and his case was so severe that he needed to stay in the hospital for some time. He was worried about his daughter, so he ran a background check on Gilgu. He found that his record was clean and that he had practiced many sports, although he never continued in anything till the end. So, the father entrusted his daughter to him and told Gilgu the truth. It turned out that Sonji is actually possessed by a devil who comes alive every night at 2 a.m., stays for about 3 hours, then disappears again. Gilgu thought the father bumped his head or something, because there ain't no way what he heard is true. However, the father told him that Sonji doesn't even know that she's possessed and asked Gilgu to take care of her during these 3 hours and obey all the devil's orders, or Sonji will be harmed. In return, he was going to pay him for his time. Gilgu decided to give it a try and went to take Sonji from her cousin. He started to believe the father's story after seeing Sonji acting like a real devil. She kept looking down on him like he was a nobody. When that didn't work on him, she used her skill to read people and pushed his buttons by talking about the guilt and regrets he bears within. Gilgu couldn't take the pressure and was about to give up until the father offered to pay him more money as he had no one else to turn to. So, Gilgu was determined to be strong and take care of her no matter what. First, he joined Sonji's bakery with her cousin as an intern, to be close to her and get to know her better. At night, all his plans were ruined when the devil showed up. She kept playing around, disappearing and coming out of nowhere, and made his life a living hell. Besides, she knew Gilgu had a crush on Sonji, so she approached him with lovely sweet eyes. But Gilgu was smart enough not to fall into her trap. When she realized he was too stubborn to leave, she acted as if he wasn't there and continued hanging out all night, eating her favorite food. Finally, she told Gilgu that Sonji's ancestors wronged her, so she's possessing her body and will never leave. He thought she was bluffing until she became chaotic and destroyed everything in her way. To stop her from harming Sonji's body, he apologized, ensuring he would believe every word she says from now on. Since then, Gilgu's routine was to go to the bakery in the morning, where he was falling in love with Sonji even more. She too noticed him and was super friendly. That was the best time of his day. Then, hell starts when the night comes, as the devil uses him as a personal assistant. From pushing her on a swing and holding her drinks to practicing her favorite hobby, searching for ancient bots. She's obsessed with them. After passing out, Gilgu takes her home, where her cousin removes all her makeup so Sonji won't notice anything in the morning. Gilgu was completely drained until Sonji's cousin told him that the devil loves challenges. If he won against her, she would give him what he wants. So, Gilgu waited for the next day and took the devil to the claw machine. He offered to win her a toy in 3 tries. In return, she must leave Sonji's body once and for all. Of course, she refused and was about to leave until he changed the deal to just telling him how to get rid of her. She agreed. Gilgu played excitedly and won the toy for her. So, the devil told him that he must call her real name 3 times. That would force her to leave Sonji's body immediately. Gilgu was so happy until he realized he doesn't know her real name, and there's no way she's telling him that. He gave up and just endured her reckless acts. One day, a man was about to commit suicide off a bridge. Everyone, including the police and the rescue teams, was trying to stop him, except for the devil. She stood under the bridge, screamed at the man, encouraging him to let go and jump. She even went so far as to jump into the water to show him how easy it is. Gilgu stopped her with all he had, even though he can't swim and needed to be rescued. Anyway, the man on the bridge was so confused that he changed his mind and probably won't come near the water ever again. As for Gilgu, he was panicking because the devil disappeared and he thought she drowned. He was yelling at everyone to help her out until he saw her swimming across the river like a pro athlete. He wasn't surprised by her behavior anymore. The next day, he learned from Sonji's cousin that Sonji is studying French to go study in France. Her father acted as if he was cool with it, but he couldn't let her travel with that devil inside her. Gilgu felt it was unfair and wanted to get the devil out of her. It was time he takes the devil out. But this time, Sonji was the one who came out. It turned out she didn't sleep the whole night because it was her mother's death anniversary. To console her, Gilgu took her out for a movie. She had so much fun and started to make a move on him, telling him she likes him a lot. He was ecstatic and fell for it until the devil showed her a mischievous smile and laughed at him all night. So, Gilgu confronted her and told her that she must leave Sonji's body so she can travel and achieve her dream. The devil agreed to decrease her time in Sonji's body if Gilgu was able to entertain her and fulfill all of her wishes. Gilgu accepted the challenge and started by taking her to the sea in the morning, since she can experience everything through Sonji's eyes. There, Sonji asked Gilgu if they watched the movie together, as she remembers flashes of it. Gilgu knew she was the one with him at the movie until the devil showed up and ruined it. Anyway, the night came, and the devil was angry at him because he forgot about her and was having a great time with Sonji at the beach. Gilgu apologized for ignoring her and promised to make her happy going forward. First, he hired a trampoline room for her, where they played non-stop for hours. Then, he took her to a garden full of beautiful roses, where he took many great photos of her. The devil kept saying that she was prettier than Sonji and that no one can be compared to her beauty. Gilgu used that ego to trick her and asked what they used to call a beauty like her back then. Once she told him the name, he called her 3 times to expel her, only to realize he had been fooled by her all over again. He was like, I hope you don't hold a grudge for that. Our deal is still on, right? And the devil forgave him because she had such a wonderful time. Things were going okay till one day Sonji was going home from her French course and some random girl asked her for help and gave her a candy to thank her. Since no one told her not to take anything from strangers, Sonji ate it naively. She passed out and was kidnapped by a shaman who saw her by accident and sensed the devil within her. He wanted to perform proper rituals to destroy that devil and sharpen his skills. Luckily, Gilgu noticed Sonji's absence and used her father's app tracker to find her. There, the shaman told him that what's inside Sonji is just a weak spirit, not a devil, and that he will get rid of her for him. Hearing that, Gilgu wanted to save her and finally used the sports he learned to hit the shaman and escaped safely with the devil. After that, she finally revealed her true story. It turned out that many years ago, The spirit was living in a hard time where diseases and death were everywhere. She lost her family at a young age, and the villagers believed that sacrificing someone would solve all their problems. Since she was alone, they burned her while everyone was watching. One family felt bad for her and buried her body in an old bot. She learned that if she stayed there for 100 years, she can peacefully go to the other side. However, after 50 years, Sonji's great grandmother found that old bot, cleaned it, and used it for food storage. That's why the girl's spirit was forced to possess the grandmother's body, as she had nowhere else to go. She was transferring from a mother to another since then, until she got into Sonji. The problem is that she must go back to the same bot before the thousandth full moon, or she will disappear forever. That's why she was searching for every ancient bot in her way. But her final full moon is in days, and there is no way to save her. Feeling desperate, the spirit locked herself in her room and decided to live her final days alone. Of course, Gilgu didn't just stand and watch. He asked Sonji's father about her grandmother's house. Once he knew the house was still there, he traveled to that desolate home and searched every corner until he found the desired bot after days of struggle. He protected it with his life and went straight to the spirit, who was spending her last night saying goodbye to the cousin and father for putting up with her all these years. At that time, Gilgo arrived and showed her the bot. She approved it was the one and was so touched and grateful to him. She asked him why he went that far for her. He told her it was because he knew she was a good person since day one, as she always smiled secretly, and every time he was tired, she acted as if she passed out to let him go and rest. Hearing that, the spirit finally told him her real name. He promised to keep the pot safe for 50 years. Before leaving, she remembered all her memories with Gilgo. So she hugged him, thanked him for everything, and went back into the pot. After that, Gilgo explained everything to the father, who was happy that his daughter is finally free. Because of this, Sonji went to study in France, as she had dreamed. Her father also started to live his life and do everything he wanted. As for Gilgo, he decided not to cry and isolate himself again, and started working in a job he likes. After some time, Sonji came back. Instead of meeting her father, she called Gilgo and couldn't wait to meet him, as she too had a crush on him all this time, and was waiting for the right moment to confess her love to him. Now that she's staying in Korea, they are going to start their long awaited relationship.